homework time. Yes, happy homework time is here once again. Lesson 29, where we get to divide and divide and divide. Let's start by jotting our name down at the top of the paper. Don't ever want to forget to do that. I'll put my name, let's say, and you put yours. And then let's put today's date. All right, today you write the actual date, where and when you are in this world. Our instructions are simply to divide and then check using multiplication. So let's start off. I'm going to kind of go through this at a decent clip. So I'm going to work from certain assumptions that you know what you're doing at this point as far as standard algorithm long division goes. So if not, you're going to have to backtrack a little bit in the lessons here and catch back up. All right, so let's get started. We have 2,464 divided by 4. We look at this, and of course we cannot ask how many 4s in 2. There aren't any, but we can ask how many 4s in 24. Yes, there are 6. And why is that? Because 6 times 4 is 24. And notice those are 24 hundreds. Just want to point that out because we subtract and we have no hundreds, but we do have 6 tens here we can deal with. So how many 4s in 6? Well, there is 1, because 1 times 4 is, that's right, 4. We've passed out those donuts, so to speak, and we are left with 2 in the tens place, but we still have 4 1s, so let's divide those up as well. And we just did this. How many 4s in 24? Yes, there are still 6, believe it or not, because 6 times 4 is still 24. We subtract and we're left with 0, so no remainder. We don't have to write anything for that. And then using multiplication to check, we take our quotient, 616, multiply it by 4, and we should get our dividend. And you don't just go and write that, as I've said to you many times now. You actually do the multiplication to see if you made a mistake. Who knows, maybe I made a mistake. I make mistakes. All right, let's do it. 4 times 6 is, that's right, 24. We've just done that several times. And 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. And 4 times 6 again is 24. Place our comma. 2,464 is the dividend we started with. It all checks out. Let's move on to B. Hey B, here we are. We are doing 1,848, and we will be dividing by trees. So how many trees in 1? Well, 0, so let's look at 18. And that's probably the last time I'm going to do that, because we can just look at this and we're smart enough that we could say, oh, hey, how many 3s in 18? I'll make that look more like a comma. How many 3s in 18? Yes, there are, you know your facts, right? 6, because 6 times 3 is 18. Now that's actually 1800s, and I mention that because when we subtract 1800s minus 1800s, we're left with 0 hundreds, but we still have tens, do we not? Yes, we have 4 tens. And even if there were 0 tens, we'd still have to work with it and divide, as we shall see in a future lesson. So how many 3s in 4? Well, there's 1, right? 1 3 in 4, because 1 times 3 is 3. We subtract and we are left with 1, and that's 110, but we're not done because we still have 8 1s. I'm just going to say again, if that were a 0, kind of looking ahead, we'd still have to divide with it. And again, how many 3s in 18? Well, we already did that. There are 6, because 6 times 3 is 18, so when we subtract, we are left with 0. Hey, isn't that what? That looks familiar, doesn't it? Yes. All right, so let's take our quotient, 616, and multiply it by a divisor, and we should land up with the dividend we started with. So 3 times 6, well, we just did it twice. It's still 18, is it not? Yes, it is. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. And again, 3 times 6 is 18, 1,848. Ah, that was a very good year. Somewhere. All right, so that's all good. Oh, wait, I forgot to do my happy little check it off. Yeah, it's good. All right, let's jump on to 1C. Did you notice there's only 2 examples in the homework tonight? But part 1 has 8,642 parts to it or something like that. All right, let's move on to C. 1C, here we are. We're looking at 9,426 divided by 3. Okay, so let's jump right in. How many 3's in 9? 3, 6, 9. There are 3 3's in 9. And why is that? Because 3 times 3 is 9. And that's 9,000. Yes. So we subtract. We have no thousands, but we still have hundreds. So let's divide those happy little hundreds. There are 4 of them. So how many 3's in 4? Ah, yes, there's 1 3 in 4 because 1 times 3 is 3. We subtract and we are left with 100, but we still have tens. Yes, we have 2 tens to be precise. Ah, it's nice and even there, isn't it? So how many 3's in 12? 3, 6, 9, 12. Ah, there are 4 3's in 12 because 4 times 3, yes indeedy do, is 12. We subtracted, are left with no 10s now, but we still have 6 1's to divide. So let's divide those by 3. How many 3's in 6? 3, 6. There are 2 because 2 times 3 is 6. And so when we subtract, we're left with 0 1's, and that's as far as we've gone. So we have no remainder again. So all right, we take our quotient now, 3,142. And if we multiply it by our divisor of 3, we should get the dividend we started with. Well, let's see what happens. 3 times 2 is 6. And it's easy, we just did all these, so we're just repeating them. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 3 is 3 plus 1 is 4. And 3 times 3 is 9. 9,426 is the dividend we started with, so it checkeroonies out. And let's swiftly to 1D. See you there. 1D, one-dimensional. All right, let's do it. Now, ooh, something's changed. Take a look. Can you see what's going to be a little different on this one just by glancing at it? Because we have 6,587 divided by 2, which is pretty easy, right? Divided by 2. We notice that this is an odd number, so we are going to be looking at our first remainder here. Yes, yes. So how many 2's in 6? 2, 4, 6. Yes, there are 3 2's in 6 because 3 times 2 is 6. When we subtract, we're left with no thousands, but we still have hundreds, so let's divide those. We have 500s to be exact. How many 2's in 5? 2, 4. Ah, there are 2 2's in 5 because 2 times 2 is 4. When we subtract, we're left with 100, and now we have 8 10's we can also divide, so 18 10's we can call this. How many 2's in 18? Yep, that's right, 9, there we go. Because 9 times 2 is 18, exactly. And we subtract, we're left with no 10's, but we do still have those 7 1's. So how many 2's in 7? 2, 4, 6. That's as far as we can go, right? So there are 3 2's in 7 because 3 times 2 is 6. When we subtract, we're left with 0. We wish. Huh. Does this work? No. We're left with 1, which is a remainder of 1. Don't be too quick. All right, 3,293. And that was a mistake. I was trying to cover it up, but that was a mistake, see, because everybody makes mistakes. So when you make mistakes in math, don't kick yourself. Your teacher makes mistakes. I make mistakes. Your mama makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. It's part of being human. It's good to catch them, though, now and then. All right, so 2 times 3 to check this. Quotient times divisor should give us dividend. So 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. 2 times 3 is 6. So 6,586. Wait, that does not match my dividend. Ah, yes, because I didn't make a mistake this time. Can you believe it? Add in that remainder of 1. 6,587 indeed. Now that's the dividend we started with, so everything matches up. Check. Let's go on. All right, yeah, take a looky here. We can't tell right off if we're going to have a remainder or not, can we? No, because if you're kind of thinking, you say, yeah, 3 does divide into 45, so might work out with or without a remainder. We'll see. So let's go ahead and do it. So we have 5,445, which we are dividing by 3. Let's jump right in. How many 3's in 5? Yes, 1, because 1 times 3 is 3, of course. We subtract and we're left with 2, and those are 2 thousands. And next, let's go to the hundreds place where we have 4. So now, how many 3's in 24? Yes, there are 8, because you know your facts, right? 8 times 3 is precisely 24. When we subtract, we're left with no hundreds, but we do have 4 tens to divide next. So how many 3's in 4? Yes, of course, 1, because 1 times 3 is 3. I'm going to have to write smaller and smaller to fit it in here. We subtract, we get 1, but we still have, those are 10s, right? 1 10, and we still have 5 1s to divide. Oh, look, it is going to come out even, because how many 3's in 15? Yes, there are 5 3's in 15, because 3 times 5 is 15. Squeezing it in here, and we actually do get 0 this time. Let's give that the old check out. 1,815 times 3 should give us the dividend we started with. So 3 times 5 is, yeah, we just did it, it's 15. 3 times 1, 3, plus 1 is 4. Looks good so far. 3 times 8 is 24, and 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. 5,445 is the dividend we started with, so check. Moving on. All right, let's look at 1/2. We can see we're going to have a remainder here again, right? Because we're dividing by 2, and it's an odd number. So we'll have a remainder of 1. We can even make that exact of a prediction without doing any math, really. So 5,425 is our dividend divided by 2, which is our divisor. Well, let's get rolling. How many 2's in 5? 2, 4. There are 2 2's in 5 because 2 times 2 is 4. When we subtract, we are left with 1 in the thousands place, but we still have hundreds to divide. Let's do that next. So how many 2's in 1400s? How many 2's in 14? There are 7, because 7 times 2 is precisely 14. So we subtract. We're left with no hundreds, but we do still have some 10s to divide. In fact, there are 2 10s. So how many 2's in 2? Yeah, you know, there's 1. Because 1 times 2, of course, is 2. When we subtract, we're left with no 10s, but we do still have 1s to divide. 5 1s to be exact. How many 2's in 5? 2, 4. We already did this, in fact. There are 2 2's in 5, because 2 times 2 is 4. When we subtract, we're left with 1, which, yes, is our remainder. So if we take our quotient, the answer there, 2,712, and multiply it by our divisor of 2, we should end up with the dividend we started with. Let's see what happens. 2 times 2 is 4. And 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 7, yep, 14. And 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. But that doesn't match because, of course, we still need to add in that remainder of 1 in order to get the complete dividend, 5,425. Beautiful. And it all checks out. Let's go on. All right, 1G divided by 3. All right, let's do it. 8,467 divided by 3. All right, let's do it. How many 3's are there in 8? 3, 6. Yep, can't go on to 9. So there are 2 3's in 8 because 2 times 3 is 6. When we subtract, we are left with 2 thousands. And we'll go next. We have 4 hundreds to divide as well. So how many 3's in 24? Yes, you know that fact. We did it just a minute ago. There are 8 3's in 24 because 8 times 3 is exactly 24. We subtract, we're left with no hundreds, but we do have 6 tens yet to divide. So how many 3's in 6? Righto, there are 2 because 2 times 3 is 6. And we subtract, we're left with 0 in the tens, but we do still have 7 ones to divide, so let's write that down and do it. How many 3's in 7? Yes, there are 2 3's in 7 because 2 times 3 is 6. We subtract, we are left with 1, which is our happy little remainder. So now if we take our quotient, 2,822, and multiply by our divisor of 3, we should end up with the dividend we started with. So 3 times 2 is 6, and again 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 8 is 24. Yeah, we've just done that. And 3 times 2 is again 6, but this time plus 2 is 8. And of course we're 1 away because we have that remainder of 1 to add in, which we could see, without really doing addition per se, is 8,467, which is what we wanted and expected. So it checks out. Let's go see about 1H. Got a little math fatigue setting in? Your eyes starting to get buggy? It's not a bad idea, by the way, in the middle of homework to say, you know what, okay, I'm more than halfway through. I'm going to take, and look at the clock, I'm going to take 3 minutes, go to the kitchen, get a cup of water or whatever. I'm going to go look out the window. I'm going to go pet the dog. Nothing big, like I'm going to go watch 2 hours of TV or play 18 hours of Fortnite or something, or a fortnight of 18 hours. But just a short break, a 3-minute break, and then come on back to it to feel refreshed. You can go ahead and pause the video. Okay, and here we are. So let's take our dividend here of 8,456 and divide it by 3. Notice we're dealing with nice small divisors here in this lesson. Nothing bigger than 3 so far, right? We've just done 2 and 3. Did we have a 4? I can't remember. All right, anyway. How many 3's in 8? 3, 6. Yeah, there are 2 because 2 times 3 is 6. When we subtract, we're left with 2 thousands, but we have hundreds to divide, 4 to be exact. So how many 3's in 24? We've done this several times recently. There are 8 3's in 24 because 8 times 3 is 24. Subtract, we're left with no hundreds, but we do still have tens to divide, 5 tens to be exact. And how many 3's in 5? Yes, there is 1 3 in 5 because 1 times 3 is 3, which when we subtract, we are left with 2 tens, but we still have 6 ones to divide. So 26, how many 3's in 26? Yeah, we're coming back to that fact we just did. The 8 times 3 is 24, is as close as we can get, which leaves us with a good old-fashioned American, all-American remainder of 2. So now let's check it. We take our quotient of 2,818 and multiply it by our divisor of 3, we should get the dividend we started with. So let's see what happens. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. 3 times 8 is still 24. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. And, all right, oh, yes. Add in that remainder of 2. And you could see, again, without really doing math, that we will get 8,456, the very dividend we started with. So it checks out. Check it out. Let's go on to I. Almost there. Almost there. Almost there. Divisor 4 again. Yes. So we have dividend is 4,937 divided by 4. I haven't mentioned this before, I probably should have, but I always do this myself, and it's a good habit, which is before I actually start dividing, you might see me do a little dun 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 with the eyes. I'm making sure that I actually wrote it down correctly. Because you could do all the division correctly and just copy the number with an error, and everything's off then, right? So I always do a quick little mental beep, beep, beep. Yep, okay, I wrote it down right before I start dividing. How many 4s in 4? Yes, there is 1 4 in 4 because 1 times 4 is 4. When we subtract, we're left with no thousands, but we do have 900s to divide. So let's write that down and say how many 4s in 9? 4, 8. Yes, there are 2 4s in 9 because 2 times 4 is 8, as we just said. Subtract, and you're left with 100, but we have 3 10s yet to divide, so 13 10s we can call this. How many 4s in 13? 4, 8, 12. Yep, there are 3 4s in 13 because 3 times 4 is 12, as we just skip counted 2. We subtract, we're left with 1. I had a feeling they were doing this. Yep, you'll see. Okay, so we still have 7 1s, so now we have 17 1s we can call this. How many 4s in 17? You see it? Do you see it now, what they're doing? Funny people. You funny Eureka mathematicians. 4 times 4 is 16. Subtract, and you are left with 1, which is a remainder. You see our quotient's 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we take that quotient of 1,234, they must get bored writing this stuff and be like, I know what I'll do on this one. It's okay. It's cute. We appreciate it. And multiply it by our divisor of 4, we should get the dividend. So 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1, 13. Good. 4 times 2, 8, plus 1 is 9. And 4 times 1, of course, is 4. And don't forget, yes, we need to add in that remainder of 1 in order to make everything come out just right. So 4,937 is what we get and what we started with. So it checks out. One more here on number 1. Yeah, okay. Let's go on to part J. Yeah, and J, you can see, what do you notice? Yeah, we're going to have a remainder. We're dividing by 5. I think it's the first one we're dividing by 5, which is the largest divisor we've seen here. But you see that our dividend ends with a 3 and not a 0 or 5. So we're definitely going to have a remainder of 3. We can make a pretty safe prediction there. So we have 6,173, again, divided by 5. So let's do it. How many 5s in 6? Yes, there is 1 5 in 6 because 1 times 5 is 5. We subtract, we are left with 1,000, but we still have 100s to divide next. So 1,100s. How many 5s in 11? Yeah, that's right. 2. 5s are so easy to work with. Isn't that great? Because 2 times 5 is 10. And we subtract, we're left with 100, but we still have 7 10s. So let's call this 17 10s. So how many 5s in 17? 5, 10, 15. Yep, 3. Oh, are they doing it again? Those sneaky little such and so's. 3 times 5 is 15. We subtract and we are left with 2 tens, but we still have 3 ones to divide here. So 23 ones divided by 5. How many 5s in 23? 5, 10, 15, 20. There are 4. You see it? You see what they did? 1, 2, 3, 4 again. So because 4 times 5 is 20, and we subtract, we are left with 3, which is our happy little remainder. So if we take that quotient, again, 1,234, and multiply it by 5, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How cute. We will, and add in, I won't pretend this time, and add in our remainder of 3, we'll end up with our dividend we started with, if everything was done correctly, which I think it was. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17. Boom. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6, and as we already said, we need to add in that remainder of 3, which you can see without really breaking the brain bank is 6,173, so it checks out. We are almost there! It's like climbing Mount Math tonight. Golly! Alright, let's go look at number 2. Good. Just one little word problem to do here. No trouble. A truck has 4 crates of apples. Happy little truck, 4 crates of apples. Each crate has an equal number of apples. Okay, so 4 crates, they're all the same. Altogether, the truck is carrying 1,728 apples. How many apples are in 3 crates? Ooh, tricky question. So if this were multiple choice, wrong answer, letter A kind of thing, would be what you get when you divide 1,728 by 4. That would be incorrect answer primo, because that's not what we're being asked. So we have to be a little sly about it. So let's have a little bit of fun too while we're at it. So here is my jacked up truck. It's kind of a flatbed. All right, get another wheel. All right, and so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 crates on it. Kind of look like slices of bread, but really they're crates. And so all together those they contain 1,728 apples. But we want to know, what we're trying to find is 1, 2, 3 crates. This is our X. And the way we're going to find that, of course, is to start by doing exactly what I said, finding the weight of 1 crate and then multiplying it out by 3. So this isn't a tape diagram per se, but this little drawing here helps us remember what exactly we're doing here. I didn't just do it for fun and to show off my awesome truck drawing skills. Okay, so if I take the number of apples, and you could think like you're practically doing this in real life. If you had this many apples and you're putting them equally into 4 crates, you're dividing them across 4 crates. So let's do it. How many 4s in 17? 4, 8, 12, 16. Yep, there are 4, because 4 times 4 is 16. As we just said, skip counting. When we subtract, we're left with 1, which is 100, but we still have tens, 2 tens to be exact. So let's look at this as 12 tens. How many 4s in 12? 4, 8, 12. Yep, there we go. There are 3 4s in 12, because 3 times 4 is 12. We subtract, we're left with no 10s there, but we do still have 8 ones to divide. How many 4s in 8? Yep, 4, 8, or 2. Oh, like they did it again, 432. That's got to be intentional. All right, we may subtract, and we're left with 0. We have no leftover apples, which is good because that would kind of mess things up here, wouldn't it? Okay, so that tells us how much is in one crate. So if I wanted to, I could write here, and I do want to, 432, 432, 4, oh, that's a 4, really. 432. Writing that small is kind of difficult here. So I can see now I have to multiply it by 3 to get the total for 3 crates. So if I take my 432 apples in one crate and multiply it by 3, that'll give me a number of apples in 3 crates. Let's do that. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 times 4 is 12. So 1,296. That makes sense. If I ended up with a number that was more than the number of apples in 4 crates, I'd say, ooh, something's wrong here. Or if I ended up with a number that was less than how many apples are in 1 crate, I'd say, whoa, something's wrong here. But no, I got a good, reasonable answer. So I can say there are, oh yeah, don't forget that statement. You got to actually answer the question, which was how many apples are in 3 crates. There are 1,296 sausages. No, just kidding. Make sure you're paying attention. Apples in 3 crates. All right, well, let's go eat some apples now because our work here is complete. Excellent job. Lots of division there. Homework time is over. I will see you next time. It is once again homework time.